Good morning. It's Tuesday, December 20th. In thinking about our end-of-year stories and wrap-up this year, I'm struck not so much by what happened over the past year, but by the icebergs and sort of hidden bombs that I see looming in 2012 for the seafood industry. Here are a couple of things which I think have not really erupted yet, but could become very significant and dominate our news in 2012. One of them is the increasing split in interest between an Alaska-centric North Pacific Council and the Seattle-based commercial fishing fleet. Several decisions of the Council recently have tended to promote Alaska interests over the interest of other owners, particularly in Seattle, operating in the EEZ. And these disputes have the potential to spill out of the North Pacific into Washington and into NMFS nationally. For example, there's some issues around halibut quota. There's certainly issues around crab. And there's also issues about recreation and commercial allocation of salmon, which are all contentious and which involve both Alaskans and non-Alaskans, and may spill over into other venues if the politics in Alaska continues to drive a series of Alaska-centric votes and decisions. Another thing which I think has potential to really be significant, of course, next year is the resolution of the cod situation in New England. We all know that blindly following current regulations would shut down the fishery, and that doesn't really seem to be an option that anybody is willing to pursue. So how this cod issue is dealt with is going to have significant ramifications for how much New England fisheries are successful in 2012. Another issue which I think is going to increasingly be important is the divide between those companies and investment vehicles that have good access to capital and credit and those which don't. Increasingly, the acquisitions in the seafood industry and the seafood industry itself is dominated by companies that have strong access to capital and credit lines and strong balance sheets. These companies, I think, are going to continue their buying advantage into 2012. Finally, another issue I think is going to be the fight between China and Western companies over access to fish resources. One very interesting place where this is playing out is in the tuna industry. The Spanish and European tuna industry is up in arms over a development that's taking place in Papua New Guinea, financed by Chinese, wealthy Chinese and other Asian investors, which intends to create a tuna processing hub in Papua New Guinea, which would then give the PNA nations leverage to demand that fish in their waters be processed in these facilities. This could upend some of the agreements and some of the traditions in the global tuna industry, and is certainly an effort to keep an eye on. So anyway, these are three things which I think might be actually dominating our news in the coming year, but currently they're like icebergs underwater and we can't tell the shape of what's going to develop. In Lexington, Mass., this is John Sackton.